Zing flash. Ladies and gentlemen, check in, check in. How you doing across the world today? Let's see who's checking in for this special live right here. You know what I'm saying? Across the world, let me see what's going on. I see notifications going out, so see what's going on. I'm gonna say hello to all the people over there on the Grape Hill, everybody over there on the Citadel. You know that already. I see DL checking in early. You know what I'm saying? Vendetta for life. Yeah, I know that already. So yeah, let's see what's going on. Who's getting these notifications? And because this is gonna be a separate stream from the regular daily stream, yeah, so it's gonna be about an hour. So we're not gonna be dragging this out with long monologue. We're gonna be bringing the special guest on shortly. Kaydan Wagwan Pawatagwan, blessings and respect checking in. Checking in. Everybody hit the like button and share the stream. Hit the like button and share the stream. You know that go already. To all my Americans and over the Great Bell, all and to all my Jamaicans, we do. So, ladies and gentlemen, this live is about life and health. A lot of times I give advice like I'm a medical doctor, like I'm some form of specialist, like, I'm giving advice, like, but I'm saying other than my own experience. So I'm like, why not have an expert come on and share their opinion on some of these topics, some of these things that we're dealing with. So you yourself might be going through some stuff and you want some advice, some therapy, to have a professional therapist coming on to give us some, info, some in-depth speaking on some of these topics that's going on, which you might relate to. I see King Detta Chaps checking in. Um, Laruna checking in from New York. Blessings and respect. I see Jackie checking in, Electra checking in. Yeah, let's get a couple more people in the building and we can get this started the right way. So those who are watching on the playback, blessings and respect, also hit the like button and share. And if you're watching on the Citadel, this does not take the place of our regular stream. In a couple of hours, we do what we do normally. Vendetta. So Vendetta King in the building. We have a hot topic coming up today as well too. So over on the Citadel, it's gonna be madness today. Trust me. You don't want to miss this one. It's gonna be spicy. Real spicy. It's gonna be sassy like Naro, you know what I'm saying? For those who get the joke. Anyhow, normal. So, ladies and gentlemen, on today's live, we have a psychotherapist who's a professional. Her name is Tasha, right? Tasha Terrell Williams. We're gonna have her come on and answer some questions, share some viewpoints and stuff with us today. So we're not gonna itch. We're gonna get to it. So I'm just saying hello to everybody. No long monologue today. Nice international. Big up yourself. I'm gonna bring on Tasha right now so she can introduce herself, and then we're gonna go through some current events that's going on right now. Tasha has a YouTube channel. It's a new YouTube channel. The link is in the description. If you enjoy what she has to say today and would like more from Tasha, you can click that link and subscribe. And if you would also like her back on the channel, from time to time, why not? Just drop a comment and let me know. Right? So I'm gonna bring her on right now. So sit tight. Tasha,
Hello,
good evening.
hello. Evening. How are ya?
Good, we're doing good. And you?
I'm good. How's everyone doing?
I hope everyone is doing good. I can't
Real
answer for
good.
them, but they can answer in the comments. Um, Tasha, introduce yourself to the people for me, please.
So, I am a licensed clinical social worker. I have a private practice here in Brooklyn, New York. My office is actually located in downtown Brooklyn. I've been practicing social work for over 20 years. I'm a trauma certified therapist, meaning I've just had additional studies as it pertains to issues around trauma. And I also specialize in work with couples.
So
Um,
relationship and
yes,
trauma, PTSD, etc.
right. And the two of them can overlap, right? So there's individuals who have individual traumas, they bring it into relationships. So there's a lot of overlap, but those are primary. And I work with just adults, right?
Yeah. So no
Primarily.
child, just
No
adults.
children, just adults.
Okay. And how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this for over 20 years. My private practice, I went into private practice about maybe like 5 years ago, but I've been working in mental health for over 20 years.
Mental health.
Hmm.
And just in general, when it comes to America right now, and our Jamaica,
Hmm.
can you, like, what do you think of the current status when it comes to mental health?
Right. So I think mental health issues have been around forever. What has happened though is ever since COVID, I believe there's been a more of an awareness, acceptance, and even a recognition around the ways in which mental health is really impacting people. So I think there's a lot more acceptance around it.
So more understanding. All right. So I
Sure.
have something. I don't know if you know about. Dax is a rapper, more conscious artist,
Mhm.
and he has a song about. It's called "To Be a Man." I don't know if you ever heard it.
I haven't.
No. All right. So in the song, he's
Hmm.
he's singing about what it's like to be a man, right?
Okay.
He's saying basically, as a man, you gotta hope and pray. There is no acceptance for you if you don't get paid, right? If you're a man, your job is to provide, right? And if nobody cares about your broken heart, it's saying
Hmm.
unconditional love is for women, children, and dogs.
Okay.
And he's saying that, and I'm asking you about, because as a man, I am telling you, I feel like the world don't care about man
Hmm.
in general. Like, we have children, we have spouse, significant other, and it's always more about them. And yes, we make it about them, no doubt about it. But I guess society also makes it about them, and at the end of the day, we do everything, we sacrifice everything, and
Hmm.
nobody comes to us and say, all right, how you doing? It's like when you watch those videos of the court, when the father finds out he's not the father,
Yes.
and everybody runs to the
Yep.
the the the, the lady, and the man is
Hmm.
sitting there like,
Hmm.
or standing
Hmm.
there like, he just
Hmm.
found out the two kids.
Right.
And that is like, where does he go now? So just
Mhm.
want to ask you, what's your take on that?
Well, I think that what's interesting is I'm actually in my practice, I've found that more and more men actually are reaching out. It's interesting. More men are reaching out to address their mental health. And I think sometimes that there is so much, there are times when there isn't enough attention given to the emotions or feelings of men. And there's still some reluctance on men to just kind of enter spaces where they're creating opportunity to talk about how they feel. But I think it's changing a little bit. I have a lot more men reaching out saying, I want to start therapy.
And therapy is important, but what do you think of what women think of men? I mean, a lot of women nowadays, they're saying, men need to open up, and we need to share our feelings and
Hmm.
stuff like that.
Hmm.
But we're like, y'all don't want a man that is breaking down and crying.
Right. Balance, right? So balance is key. One of the things that I say for women who are saying they want their man to open up more, the question is, are women creating the space for the man to open up more? That becomes part of the bigger question. Is the space being given to hear from their man?
All right. To me, emotions are like, um you have a river, you have a dam, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for us, man, it's a dam. We basically block off certain feelings, and I believe that oftentimes women are trying to remove, like, the dam, the blockage, right? And I'm saying it's a floodgate,
That if it
and
gets opened,
it's
then what?
oftentimes, if it's open, it's hard for it to close. You say balance,
Mm-hmm.
but giving into feelings and emotions,
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes there's no balance for man. That is we are either closed off, or we are
Mm-hmm.
fully giving in. So we either become, overly sensitive,
Mm-hmm.
or not sensitive at all.
Well, what's the fear around becoming overly sensitive? What's the fear around the floodgates opening?
The fear is that at the end of the day, right? Um, no woman really wants a man that's breaking down like a car every. I mean, just like you would not want a car that's breaking down every week, you would not want a man that's bringing home and crying for every little thing.
Right. So the idea of a man is going to cry for every little thing. It's interesting when you're talking about the conditioning of men, and oftentimes from small there's this conditioning that men that even little boys receive, which goes up that they bring into adulthood, which is
Yes.
you don't show emotions, right? You be a man, and I think part of that whole notion needs to actually be redefined, and the idea that expressing of emotions it can actually be tapered, right? To express emotions is just simply you being present and available for the other person that you're in relationship with.
So, all right. So for us, speaking as a man,
Mm-hmm.
I can say that, when you have a spouse, or you
Okay.
have children, right? We as men, we lie to women and we lie to children, right? We don't tend to
Okay.
lie to other men. The idea behind that is we tell our children everything's going to be all right, even if we don't
Mm-hmm.
know if
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be all right.
Right.
And the same thing go for our spouses. If if I go out there and let's say the bills need paying and stuff, and I don't know how it's going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling her it's gonna be all right. I'm being her rock, even when I don't have a rock. Where it's like I don't know what's gonna happen, but I have to give her that security. Because if none of us have that security, then it's even worse. Because if she's like, "What's going on? What we gonna do? What we're gonna do?" And it's like, "Yo, man, like, what do I do? Do I tell her it's gonna be all right, or do I tell her I don't know?"
I believe in honesty, right? Because the idea, first of all, you're saying it's going to be all right is a key of what you said. It's providing a sense of men are supposed to protect, provide. So you're providing a sense of safety and security. Nothing wrong with that. But I also think there's nothing wrong with saying, listen, I intend for things to be all right, but these are some of the challenges that I'm also experiencing because that's keeping her in the loop of the reality. Because should something go wrong, the whole sense that it's all right and I got it gets blown up.
Understood. Understood. We're gonna get back to some of this,
Okay.
but honestly, we have a set of topics I wanted to question you about. I don't know if you're familiar with the young artist, Jamaican artist Malie.
Mm-hmm.
Ian, his entourage was leaving. I think it's Barbados. Recently, a couple
Mm-hmm.
days ago, and they were arrested in the airport because apparently a young lady,
Mm-hmm.
filed charges that she was raped, and by I don't know if it's by one or more of the entourage. Eventually, investigation, they were released. We don't have the full details,
Right. Mm-hmm.
but what I want to ask you about both sides of the spectrum. You know, for a female that's telling the truth
Mm-hmm.
and for a female that is lying, what do you have to say about both sides of it?
Well, I think the whole well, first of all, I want to start by saying the idea of artists, athletes getting themselves in these predicaments, not uncommon. You look at Shakira, right? Mike Tyson, Kobe Bryant. So unfortunately, it's a situation that artists and athletes unfortunately continue to get themselves involved in. I think the idea of whether truth, fiction, whether the woman is lying or not lying, there's actually a larger issue, but I can speak to that a little later. I think it's important for women to recognize that your mistruth is is literally devastating someone else's life. And for the woman that is telling the truth, I think there needs to be more space and appreciation for the fact that she's even coming forward.
All right. So, based on the system, laws,
Hmm.
money, etc., etc., we don't know. We don't know.
We don't. And
But
that's key.
so, for a woman
Hmm.
that let's say it actually happened, and let's say these guys paid off the system or whatever the
Hmm.
case is, bought out of it. Now, what is she left with now? Where does she go from here?
Well, she's left now with trauma, right? She's left now with a redefinition of what does it mean to come forward with my truth. She's now left with a space where she's particularly being shamed. That's what she gets left with, which is unfortunate because then it creates a cycle wherein you now are going to have a woman whose experience of what it means to tell the truth is going to be difficult from that point on.
And any advice you would give to these ladies?
Who are coming forward
Yes.
to continue to come forward. Because the reality is, whether there's pain from disclosing or pain from keeping, it's pain all around. And I think there's some more liberation and more freedom in actually disclosing your truths and your trauma. But it has
Mm.
to be, of course, I'm saying this, but I also want to recognize that it has to be evaluated. One has to sit back and ensure that they're taking time to consider what it means for them. Are they ready? There's a whole bunch of other considerations, but in general, I think that people should come forward in cases of trauma because it changes literally their whole DNA.
You know, we're gonna later on get to the. I guess we should. We're gonna get to the Queen Africa situation,
Got
but
a lot to say in that one. Hmm.
but it's because we're talking about the trauma and stuff like
Yes.
that. I want to say, when you have individuals that go through trauma,
Hmm.
and then they come out now, and
Hmm.
they don't call name, or they don't identify their perpetrator. For
Hmm.
example, a Tanya Stevens that never actually
Hmm.
disclosed who it was, or a major I.
Hmm.
When they come forward and they
Hmm.
don't disclose who these individuals are, Queen Africa, she
Hmm.
did. But I'm saying, when they do, a lot of people, we're saying, when they don't, like, you're protecting the predator, and you're allowing the predator to continue to do this to others as well. So what do you have to say about it?
I think disclosure is something very personal. And there's actually degrees of how one discloses. And if one feels disclosing names, dates, everything, fine, it works for them. For other individuals, disclosure for them just may simply mean exposing the actual incident. So I think how one discloses or what they choose to disclose is actually personal. And the idea of naming names, we don't know what is in the background of what's the considerations as to why they're choosing not to disclose a name or not. So everybody just wants to get to the bottom of things. Give me the name, let me know, right? So in cases, maybe it might be useful in another incident to know who, but I think we have to respect the fact that disclosing of trauma has layers, and however someone chooses what parts they choose to disclose about their trauma is the most important part.
With that said, I'm just
Hmm.
gonna go right into the Queen Africa.
Sure, let's do it.
I don't fully understand her story. I
Hmm.
and I'm just gonna be totally honest with you.
Hmm.
I don't I over my years and years, I've come across a lot of females, and I can tell you about 8 out of 10 of them have either
Hmm.
been molested,
Yes.
raped, or some form
Hmm.
of trauma. And I have taken in so much, and I've dealt with it, so much over my lifetime, that
Hmm.
sometimes I can't. And
You can't what?
when I can't just hear anymore. I,
Got
I feel I feel like I hear so much. So when she started to talk, and
it.
she
Hmm.
said, she started to describe the part where she went and she met him, and she started going around him
Hmm.
because that's her father. And I'm like, wait, is she saying is when she was 20, like about 20 years old, this happened? And that's the moment when I said, I'm out. I'm out. I checked out. I'm sorry. Like, I'm just, are you saying, because I thought it was like 10 years old or something like that.
Hmm.
And when I realized that this is when you're off age,
Hmm.
I, I don't even know what to do. I don't even know what to say at this point. I'm just like, so I'm turning it over to you.
Mm, got it. So it's interesting. They mentioned there was other incidents like with the stepfather, some other persons. I wasn't really sure when that happened either. And there is something that is often misunderstood about abuse, and that there's a cycle to how abuse occurs, right? I want to look for a minute at Queen Africa and her father, and the fact that her father was an individual who was absent, just according to what I heard. Her father was absent. So there is a space where she then was looking to reestablish a relationship with a father. And when we think about a parental figure, we're thinking about someone who's we're going to feel safe with, that we're going to trust, right? He also was a well-known artist, so there's a space where she might have imagined that this is someone who is well liked and accepted, right?
Yes.
So I think it's important to recognize how she entered that relationship with her father. That may be part of what I am letting you all know is a cycle of abuse. And that cycle of abuse speaks to how a victim will love or adore um, uh, another person, and this love and adoration sets up for this cycle where the abuser, no matter what the age, can manipulate and has power over the other person, which is why if it was age 20, 30, it doesn't matter, there is a propensity for someone to become a victim.
I wasn't suggesting that it's because of her age that, the abuse. I'm just saying
No,
the
the
thing is,
understanding of how could it happen
no, not
as an
even.
adult.
It's just that
Tell me.
she's 20 years old and this man is her father. He's a
Uh-huh.
well-known entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
He, I'm sure he has the pick of the litter when it comes to a lot of females, and I just cannot fathom
Mm-hmm.
why your daughter, who's reaching out to you after so many years,
Mm-hmm.
that's the place he would take it to. And I'm just lost. I can't understand, can't comprehend. I just don't get it.
So there's also this space where, did he recognize her as a daughter, or did he recognize her just as another woman? And we have not heard from him. I know nothing about his story, but I think that's another important aspect that we have to consider, because the idea of we have labels, right? There's a lot of roles, mother, father, just all of that. But that does not speak to how you are in relationships with someone or how you view someone. So yes, that's by title, that's his daughter, but did he view her as that?
That's an interesting point because that's one of the things. Like, she met him at a show after one of his concerts,
Correct.
right? And I thought about it and I said, wait, is it a case he thought that she was a possible groupie or something?
Mm.
But then she disposed that she and him would have they had
Mm-hmm.
conversations about
Mm-hmm.
why didn't he reach out to her? Why didn't this? And he said it was the mother. He was married and
Mm-hmm.
basically, it wasn't a good look and stuff like that. So because of that, I'm like, okay, then he knew biologically
Who she
that
was.
this was his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So, based on the timeline of what she's saying, he would have already known that this is his daughter.
But
So,
part of the knowing of who someone is part of the relationship.
yeah,
So him simply knowing, yes, that's my daughter, yes, we're spending time, doesn't necessarily click that this person is special in the way of a child to me. So I think there's a connection that we need to hold space for that may not have been made for him. And again, this is all assumption. We're just typically when
definitely
this happens.
assuming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it all right. So I'm from what you're saying, I'm getting that based on the fact because I heard a story on the radio in
Mm-hmm.
Jamaica, and this young lady was telling her story, and I swear to you, it
Mm-hmm.
was the most unbelievable story. I'm not saying she's lying. It was the most unbelievable story. It was like she was raised by, like, say, I think her grandfather, and
Mm-hmm.
he did stuff to her,
Uh-huh.
right? She was sent to her uncle, and her uncle did stuff to her. She went to her father, and her father did stuff. I'm like,
Mm.
and she even described one incident as her uncle came and visited her while she was with her father, and I'm just like, wait, what?
How does it keep happening?
I am lost. I
Right.
don't understand.
So when someone is abused, even just one experience, and we don't know, and we were thinking about Queen Africa, I don't know if there was an earlier childhood trauma around abuse. It actually creates confusion, and much of this is going to sound very like psychological nature, but there is actually confusion that sets in for that individual, and the confusion is around, how do I receive, how do I give love and affection, and that's part of that cycle of abuse. and why it can reoccur person after person, relative after relative.
So, in other words, the gist of it is basically the way love is shared, or the way affection, or where the attention is shared between, it can, now the lines are blurred, and
Yes, it gets
the
distorted.
victim, like in a Stockholm type situation where, like, the victim basically is looking for that kind of attention because
Well,
that's what they're used to.
right. So even if it's not looking for their view of what it means to receive loan, it gets distorted. So if it
Yes.
shows up again the same way, they're going to be there's going to be a propensity where they're going to be vulnerable for it to happen again. And most perpetrators, there's a tendency to recognize vulnerability in individuals, and that's part of how they also get preyed on.
Well, as I say, predators know the spot praise.
Yep. Hmm.
So, but in the Queen Africa situation, even the brother, other family members are coming out and really, disowning her.
I want to
And
mention something about the brother. Hmm.
yeah, so what's your take on it?
Hmm. There was something that brother said that I really want to speak on. He mentioned that how could his father have done this because he had impairments. And I want to make it very clear that someone's physical limitations or impairments does not exclude them from the ability to become a perpetrator, because in a cycle of abuse, they can manipulate the other person to do anything for them and in any way they want it to be done.
And I'll further touch upon that.
Hmm.
What I've found out, what I've seen, in reality is that
Yeah.
oftentimes, the typical predator back in the day, what people look for in psychopaths, or serial killers, serial rapists, etc.,
Hmm.
they oftentimes would have, impairments, limitations. But in terms of a Jeffrey Dahmer or something, they're people that they don't have. A lot
Hmm.
of these people, well spoken,
Hmm.
articulate, educated, smart as hell, and they don't have a problem. And even in our culture, a lot of men who are rapists, they are jealous, and as in our
Hmm.
culture, they
Hmm.
get a lot
Hmm.
of women, which might, kind of like, in a sense, they women come so easy to them that no is not an option, kind
Hmm.
of situation. So
Hmm.
they what they want, they get at all costs, or
Right.
or they have been through it so much where they start, the lines are blurred, because we can speak on this, or you can speak on it, I should
Hmm.
say, where our culture, Jamaican culture,
Hmm.
I've fostered, grape year after year. Even a lot of women in our culture, they naturally, that play hard to get. You have to try. Oh, you don't really want it. If you're not try hard enough, if you want it, you
Hmm.
take it, kind of situations.
Hmm.
And throughout the years, I'm 42 years old, and I've heard
Hmm.
all that kind of madness, and I'm always
Right.
like, no, no, we're not go down that road there. I don't know
Right.
what you're talking about. You never want it. If you don't want it, you take, excuse me,
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
now I work with you. You're mad. So,
Hmm.
what's your take on that?
The idea you're speaking to, cultural conditioning,
Yes,
the conditioning that no doesn't necessarily have to mean no. It could mean something else. That's what we're speaking to.
yes.
I think it's a especially nowadays, it's a very delicate area for men to find themselves in, this idea. And I think there needs to be a lot of change views around what no means, and the idea of 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 what even teasing someone means, and what all of that has to be redefined. And I think sometimes there can be a little gray area, but the biggest takeaway is that you've got to, speaking to the men, right? Speaking about men who you're saying have these views, they've got to be careful and make sure that they're in communication with what is it a woman is really saying and what is it she says she wants or does not want.
So, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask this. Even going back to the Malidan situation, right?
Uh-huh.
Intoxicated females, impaired females,
Mm.
You know, engaging in for men, what do you have to say to men who are engaging in sexual relations with intoxicated or impaired individuals?
Not a good idea, because when they become conscious, then what? Not a good idea. Um, but it's interesting in this in the Molly Down situation. She said she was drugged. So that are ways of that's already you're dancing and in a territory with somebody who is impaired, but not even by choice. Like they didn't even like it wasn't their choice to get inebriated or drink to a certain degree. So I think that again, men have got to be they've got to be careful. And it's interesting. I thought to myself, one thing that comes up, women are often they are enticed by whether it's stardom, whether it's the physical performance when it comes to athletes. And what comes up to me is there has to be conversations with women should be having conversations with men about what are the expectations when we go back to the room, and men should be having conversations with women about what it means for me to take you back to the room. I think that if they start there, a lot of these issues wouldn't even occur.
Um, Stick a pin right there.
I will.
For me, I was saying to the audience yesterday, right, that we have to upgrade the software, because a lot of men and women out here operating on 19 Windows 98, Windows 2000 operating systems, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying they need to upgrade because here's the thing. I'm saying basically no means no, meaning
Mm-hmm.
there's no variation. I don't think, in my belief, there
Mm-hmm.
is any variation at this point based on how society has been going. I don't think there should be a variation to no. Meaning, at any point during, if she said yes a million times and out of
Right.
nowhere she said one no,
Mm-hmm.
that means that's it. Party done. Like that's it. Like off a dance. Next thing, I also believe that as you say, going back to the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not just going back to the room, we have to figure out what we're looking
Mm-hmm.
to happen. I believe that asking is, I don't see, I know people are saying it kills the mood, but I'm saying, can I kiss you? Can I touch you?
Correct.
Should I?
Right.
Because at this point, I'm thinking, because ever since I was young, I don't do intoxicated. So that was off the table already. I don't know about these guys picking up half drunk women, carrying them back home, out dragging them back. I'm like, bro,
Mm-hmm.
what are you doing? You know, there's some caveman type stuff. So first of all, I'll say this. I am not a necrophiliac. I don't understand none of this. That quote unquote Bill Cosby type thing. Woman knocked off past, no understanding, no
Mm-hmm.
comprehension of what's going on here. So I'm just saying, I believe that 100% that you should ask permission every step of the way.
Absolutely. Right. And the asking, I think, begins from the inception of the meeting. It shouldn't be we're negotiating, trying to figure out wants and needs when we get to the room. I think a lot of it should happen way before people are even crossing the thresholds of that room.
So basically, you're saying that we should, because, oh, can you come over for a drink? It should be more like, can you come over for a drink and possibly more after if you're interested? Because people say, oh, come over, Netflix and chill.
Right.
But you don't actually mean Netflix and chill.
Well, that's the interesting thing. What if women for sure will say Netflix and chill and already have their limits and boundaries all carved out, right?
Uh,
And so, what does it mean for a man, Netflix and chill? What does it mean for that woman? It can mean completely two different things. So, I don't see anything wrong with, I'm just saying, especially since the man is anticipating more to say, hey, I want you to come over for Netflix and chill, but, I'm open for more. I'm hoping for more, whether open for more or hoping for more. There's nothing wrong with saying that. So, off the bat, the woman can say, well, maybe I'm open for more, or actually, no, I don't. I'm just open for Netflix and chill. It's a conversation that sets both of you up for better success.
as you say that, man. As a man, I'm just saying, I'm speaking to a woman. I'm letting women are complicated creatures. Men are simple. Women are complicated as hell. As you just said, For some weird reason, a woman will tell you, like, like, come over, it's like, oh, Netflix and chill. And she's basically saying, oh, it's just Netflix and chill. It ain't gonna be nothing more, right?
Mhm.
And you're like, all right, come over, chill. And you ain't trying nothing. And she's like, so why you ain't trying? You're like, but you said it was just Netflix and chill. I'm confused
So,
already. So the hard wiring, it's complicated.
mhm, mhm,
And I don't know, and it starts to make sense now why the statistics are showing that a large percentage of men are, either they're not having sex or they're virgins. Like over 50% of men, either
mm.
they're not having sex or they're virgins. And I'm thinking it makes sense because honestly, this thing is getting way too complicated.
What's getting complicated?
I don't know what it would be like for a man going out there right
Mhm.
now. First of all, hashtag me too. How do you even approach a woman about this topic in the first place?
What's interesting is when you say how do you approach the topic, just like we did right here. What feels strange or what feels out of the norm to say to set limits and boundaries before? What feels strange about that?
Before, when in my days, when I was
Hmm.
younger, I could go up to a female on the street, randomly just, cold talk a person right there on the street. Oh, you look beautiful. Can I take you? Or whatever. These days, creep, you know, you in the gym, you walk by somebody and they're like, you're looking at them and you're a creep. It's like, and the woman defined
Mm, mm.
catcalling is if
Oh,
they
I
if
never
they
liked
like what they
catcalling.
see, it's okay, and if they
Mhm,
don't like what they see, you're a creep. So
mhm.
I don't know, man. This is some
Or does
scary stuff.
catcalling? I think catcalling, me personally, maybe it depends on the caliber of woman that you're catcalling. Because I've never understood catcalling. It's what does it really mean? I mean,
I don't. I'm just as confused as you because going up to a woman, so some people that's
mm,
catcalling. I used to have the definition as like some man on the side of the road. Hey, cute, hey, sexy. I thought
mm,
that was
mhm,
catcalling,
mhm.
but apparently it's just a man saying something to you. Even if he says, "Oh, you're looking beautiful today," that can be constituted as catcalling. So I don't
Well,
even
maybe
know these
part of
things.
it is the tone and the timing of when it happens,
Hashtag me too. You just gotta be careful out here. For us, man, it's
especially in the
dangerous times.
workplace.
Yeah, I give you an example. The other day, Conor McGregor, when
Hmm.
the female accused him, and they
Hmm.
had to show the footage of the NBA game where, first of all, I don't even know why was he trying to take her to the bathroom.
Hmm.
Connor, come on, man, not worth it. But either way, she agreed to go to the bathroom with him, and then she basically told a story that she was forced, and security and people pushed her in there and stuff. And then the video showed that it was all lies. And what if he didn't have a video?
Right, right, right.
These are the things that we're talking about. Where these accusations. Look at Jonathan Major. That's his
Hmm.
girlfriend
Hmm.
that the domestic violence, and he got arrested, and you know working for Disney, Marvel, and all that stuff. He's was in his own company. His company cut him loose. What if Disney and Marvel had been like,
Right.
he could have lost it. This was right after Cree. It could have been complete dirt for him.
Hmm.
And it's
Hmm.
just, it's scary when you look at it. Just he was the one who called police, but when the police came, they arrested him.
Right, right.
So I'm just saying, for us, man, just an argument with a female can lead to us going to prison, even if we ain't doing nothing, even if we're the one who got beat up.
Right. Though I thought there was some laws recently that said if there's a domestic violence call, that both people are going. Both people are being
Oh, new
going.
law.
Yeah.
They probably
I
trying to
thought
push
that
some
was
new
right.
stuff
Yeah.
out there because for a while now, even like they're trying to pass the new law where say that paternity fraud is going to be a thing, possibly be a thing.
Mm.
So these kind of situations are scary for us men. So the dynamics between man and woman, even when you talk about trauma.
Hmm.
No, we don't want to make this too long, but I want to talk to you
Come
about
on.
a couple of minutes about Steve Harvey and his
Mhm.
wife with the alleged
Alleged,
cheating,
correct.
because
Mhm.
he's kind of dismissing it like, oh, he don't have time for rumors. And I'm
Mhm.
saying to you, Steve Harvey knows for a fact that rumors can ruin business, relationships, brand, and everything. So for him to be brushing it off instead of coming out and dealing with it to say, no, nothing like that. Me and my
Mhm.
wife are good and stuff like that. The way he's brushing it off leads me to believe, we got some fire where the smoke is at. So what's your take on it?
Mhm. One of the things you just said that is important, we don't know how they're managing it privately. And I think sometimes, especially in the incidents of like celebrities, artists, things like that, the idea of potentially giving something too much attention can cause more harm than good. So the idea, I don't know if I interpret the brush off as a dismissal or a brush off as they don't want to give any more like fuel to this fire. But who knows how they're managing it privately?
That is true, but I'm sure he understands that we, the public, are invested in him and his wife for the simple fact
Mm-hmm.
that he's the one who said, think like a man and act like a
Mm-hmm.
man. And he's the one that's been pandering to women. So if his woman give him the business, us men are out here like, I'm saying I'm rooting against Steve here. I'm hoping she takes half of everything. I'm sorry. I'm just saying,
Okay. Okay.
what do you have to say
But
about that?
but what are we scandalizing? I think that's the question. When these type of rumors come up, what are we scandalizing? Are we scandalizing her? Are we scandalizing the relationship? What are we really scandalizing? Because the reality, whether it's true or not, because like you said, it's alleged. I think the reality, and I find this with most couples that I work with, what does infidelity really represent? That's the question. I think is the to me that is more on the table than people kind of scandalizing their lives. And if there was an incident, now, by the way, I'm not condoning this, if there was any incidents of infidelity, what does it mean for their relationship, or what does that infidelity really represent as far as the condition of their relationship?
I do distinctively remember that
Hmm.
he cheated on his previous wife with
He
this
did, and he says,
lady.
hmm.
So,
So
karma,
what does
what
that
goes
mean?
around? I'm just saying, you kind of, it started with cheating.
Hmm.
So it doesn't, but and also, who knows? Maybe Steve been doing this dirt and we don't know about it, and she know about it. Maybe it's a Will and Jada type situation. Who knows?
Anything's, yeah, it's possible. It's possible. But I think the idea that her actions are alleged. Let me put that out there. Alleged. Her alleged actions um, kind of mean that she's what? What does that mean for who she is?
You know,
Hmm.
it's interesting you said that. The thing is, the little undertones is really the thing that sets it off. For example, when she was on one of those game shows with him,
Hmm.
and I don't remember what the question was exactly, but it was something about doing something, and she said with the pool boy, and she hit that button, and people are drawing back to that thing to say, you see, when she said she would do it with the pool boy,
Uh huh.
she was not just she wasn't saying it for fun. That was reality. So oftentimes a lot of truth is
Hmm.
said in jest. So, I'm just saying people want to stick it to, Steve, and I'm one of them.
Oh, you want to stick it to Steve?
Not in that
No.
not in the funny business. I'm just saying in the way that
Yes.
this man have been out here pandering and
Hmm.
he, like when he said that women are the table,
Hmm.
that argument, I'm just looking like, what are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? What do you mean they are the table and all this now? I'm saying, see, this is the problem. Now, when we're talking to females out here and they come and it's like,
Hmm.
what do you bring to the table? And they're like, I am the table. I make the table this and and we're like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Stop it. You need some help. That's what I'm thinking.
So he created a narrative. People ran with it
And
without real definition around what does just bringing to the table. What does all of it really mean? What does it involve? What does what are people looking for out of that?
And that's what he does. He's pandering to his woman audience, and that's what he
Mhm.
does. So
He
so
does.
ba- he has been ruining a lot of relationships over the years.
Or
A
has
lot.
he been highlighting other issues and challenges that are often unaddressed or unexpressed?
And that's the thing.
Hmm.
Relationships are something you work on.
Hmm.
And the dynamics between a man and woman, as your therapist, you would know that they're they're not the same. Man
Correct.
and
They
woman
are
are not the
different.
same.
Hmm.
But when he teaches women to act and behave like a man, and for us man, the a man, a woman
A man,
acting
man.
like a man is a
Indeed.
man that is a man. Because these days
Mm,
you have feminine man.
mm. It's a whole nother.
So yes,
It's a
not
whole
no,
nother
that's saying
life. Yeah.
these generation, these later generation of men are more estrogen filled, soy based, so to speak. Sorry, I'm
Or
making light of it. And they're quite silent.
I believe there is a place where men are trying to lean into and be more understanding of the emotions of women. And I don't know if that's getting confused with being soft or soy based. I'm not really sure if that's the
All right,
confusion. Hmm.
I'll explain to you what the soy based men are.
Hmm.
The soy based man are the man that's like, when a woman speak, they're like, even if she's talking straight
Hmm.
gibberish, let her speak, let her speak, let the sister speak. She knows what she's talking about
Hmm.
without the facts, without reality. The idea
Hmm.
that at the end of the day, right, a woman is like a man in a relationship, and it should be 50-50, when the reality is that we're different. We might be equal, but we're different. The reality is that that's why, rest in peace to,
Hmm.
Kevin Samuels, when he would ask the question what a woman brings to the table, it's in reference to, all right, say you're a lady that has a significant income, right? If you're gonna have kids in a relationship, at some point you're gonna have to not work because you're gonna be taking care of your kids. Or you're gonna, even after birth, you might be
Hmm.
paying somebody else to take care of your kids so you can go back to work. So
Okay.
in terms of that, just that alone, right there, let's say for 4 or 5 years you have babysitters or nannies or whoever taking care of your kid. That's an income right there that you're paying out to somebody, say
Hmm.
$1,000 a week. So
Hmm.
if you're going to work, you
Hmm.
would have to be earning more than $1,000 per week, while having somebody else take care of your kids, while somebody else is bonding with your kids and nurturing your kids instead of you. And then the trade-off would be, for what? Why would you do that? So when you would ask these questions,
Hmm.
is to figure out the stability between a man and a woman, the roles they're gonna play in the relationship. And if it's gonna be a man that's gonna be 50-50 with a woman,
Hmm.
when it's time for her to take on the role of a mother,
Hmm.
then 50% is gonna be missing. How is she gonna balance if it's 50-50 bills and stuff like that? How is he gonna handle it when she's not working for an extended period of time?
So are you saying, CV, the notion of 50-50 isn't a real, is that what you're saying? It's not a real one?
It cannot be. Man cannot be woman and woman cannot be man.
I mean, I agree with there are roles why there is man and there is woman, and when they come together there's roles. I think those roles have gotten really blurry throughout the time, and they're often not, they're being less and less defined, which me personally I think is part of the breakdown in a lot of families and how people are functioning together, because there's so much mixing and lack of clarity around roles. But I think the notion of 50-50, do I agree with that notion of 50-50?
So let
Yeah.
me ask you something then.
Mm.
Let's say me and my fiance had.
Mhm.
one child together, right?
Mhm.
And she's the breadwinner. I'm the
Mhm.
stay at home. But let's
Yeah.
say we were kind of 50-50. But then when she had the child and it was time to go back to work, I became the stay at home father.
Mhm.
And she was the one who went to work, the provider.
Mhm.
When she's having the second child now, right?
Mhm.
How does that work?
Well, you guys are going to then have a conversation around whether you would continue to take care of child 1 and 2, and you guys would conversate about it would look like then. So are you saying at that point, let's say that you were okay continuing to take care of child 1 and child 2, why would there be an issue? The
I'm
only issue
saying that
becomes if it changes.
but the mother, so doing, let's say she worked up until she was 8 months
Uh-huh.
and she would have to recover 3 months after.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So let's say it was just she took 6 months off for maternity.
Okay.
And right in that 3 months, the baby's 3 months old now, she's going to leave me with both and go back to work.
Mhm.
So now, am I supposed to be the nurturer completely? And I'm gonna be breastfeeding, so it's gonna be bottle feeding. She's gonna be pumping. I'm just saying the that dynamic is such an unrealistic one to try to
But you
force
know it
that.
happens.
It
I have
it
a lot of couples where that dynamic actually exists.
and I guarantee you have far more couples where they have a, what would you say, a living or a
Oh yeah.
person who
Mhm.
take care of the
Mhm.
baby, because
Mhm.
couples think my mother came to this country and that's what she did. I know a lot of people come to this country, that's what they do. So
Mhm.
these people are not even taking care of the kids point blank and period.
Mhm.
So if that type of mentality for that female, the those types that are job oriented, and they decide, say, you know what, I'm gonna go to work. They're gonna go to work whether the man stay home or not.
Yeah, but I want to. I'm trying to extract and understand though. What's your position around that?
No, I all right. So my issue with
Uh huh.
this is children need both parents.
Correct.
There's no
Mhm.
substitution for
Mm.
one.
Okay.
So you need both dynamic in the home at, and especially at those ages where they need mommy. For daddy to try to be a mommy and daddy, it doesn't work.
But isn't that where? But hold on though, because then is there an assumption that because based off of the same dynamic that you just provided, who's to say that when mom gets home that now she's not in full role, and then the dad now is relieved of those responsibilities, so the
But
child is still getting both.
I totally disagree with that, because do you imagine as a father, you been home all day,
Mhm.
right? And I come from work and I've been
Mhm.
working all day, and I'm supposed to, I don't know, no,
Well,
I'm not
that's
taking
part
up.
of the compromise. If we're
No,
not going to bring in a nanny, we've got to compromise. Like,
it
how do
is.
both of us get time to
It,
ourselves?
it, it
How do we
don't.
care?
I have
Right?
4 children. I can tell you,
But
it does.
why doesn't it though?
It because if, especially if you have a strenuous job,
Hmm.
when by the time, let's say you work an 8 hour shift or 10 hour shift, coming home and helping kids with homework and bathing them and getting them ready for bed, stuff like that, preparing dinner. No, it is too much. You're gonna be burnt out. You're gonna be dirt fast. It doesn't make
Right.
sense.
But what about the space where we say, when you come home, you will get your hour or two to decompress, and then you're going to engage. Remember now, we're not going to invite a nanny or caregiver into the space. The two of you've got to figure it out. So I'll tell a couple in an instance like that. By the time whoever's the one leaving out, if it's the woman, fine. If it's the man, fine. When you get home, we're going to give them some space to decompress, and then they're going to re-engage with the process so the other person who's been home gets their break. Let's compromise.
I'm sure it is, but in my
Hmm.
experience, I hear she compare she complains and she says she needs sleep and she needs this, and I'm just
Hmm.
like, I'm gone, and she's like, you fell asleep, but I'm like, I've been working all day, so I'm just like, that dynamic,
Hmm.
if it's not balanced properly, because as
Correct.
I said, even
Correct.
if the female stays home all day with the
Hmm.
children,
Hmm.
she's burnt out.
Correct. It's
When
a
I say,
whole job in
especially when they're
itself.
young,
Yeah.
if you don't have family, if you don't have people that's help,
Mhm.
I'm speaking from experience. I have two young ones,
Mhm.
one that's 2 and one that's 8 months, and I can tell you, from 6 in the morning, the madness start, and 2 in the night. It does not stop.
Mhm.
They are living terrors, and it is, and I also have, a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old. I can tell you, it's not like it gets easier along the way.
Mhm. Mhm.
It doesn't get any easier. They're still needy. Oh, by the way,
All right. Tell me.
what do you have to say to people that don't want kids? Because as much as I have no regrets and I love my
Mhm.
kids,
Mhm.
I do believe that these little buggers are the killers of relationships.
I think they can be relationship killers, but oftentimes when people are having entering a parenting role, there people are not like really giving thought to what that experience is going to look like. We just become parents. That's it. Let's just have kids. But there's really no conversations about what are some of your expectations? What are some of your wants? What does it look like for you as far as parenting? We just enter the roles. And then it just kind of blows up because you're now introducing another dynamic and another role into the relationship.
Interestingly,
Hmm.
I did have that conversation with my fiance,
Okay.
because coming from a previous relationship and
Hmm.
understanding, and being vain, I am not the most. I am down to her, but I'm not the most. I don't know. How you want to put it, but phys- after a woman have baby, their body
Hmm.
go through changes, lots and lots of
Absolutely.
changes,
Hmm.
and knowing from experience the first time, the second time around, I was like, like,
Oh,
she's
so
like,
you
she
were
want
prepared.
kids. And
Hmm.
I'm like, well, I've been down this road already. I can't have an idea of the changes. I don't like the changes. So I was like, surrogate, so it's adoption, something. She's like, no, I want to go through it. I'm like, no, you don't want to go through it. What are you talking about? She's like, yeah. And now after baby, she's like, oh, I want to do it. I'm like, I told you, man. But it is what it is. It's a part of life. We just have to accept it. You know.
Yeah, it's a life event that a couple enter into. Like if you buy a first home, if someone all of these life events are going to create changes for a couple.
Yeah. So that part of it. So you want to get back to the anything you want to say about the Queen Africa situation? Because I know you said you had a lot to say about it, and the audience, they're here listening to you. So shout out to everybody listening right now. Drop a comment. We got Tasha in the building, and she's sharing her opinions on some controversial topics. I'm not going to get too controversial today. Maybe, because I got to talk to her off here. Because y'all know I get real controversial. So I don't want to get her in any trouble. Okay, so go ahead.
I just think that we need to reserve some judgment if there for those who are holding judgment about her situation. I think that we should reserve judgment. We do not. I don't believe there's a statute of limitation on someone's disclosure around their trauma or around anything um, negative that has happened to them. And I think the idea that we have to recognize that when we choose to disclose, the timing, how we disclose, why we disclose, it's built into a lot of things. And people have to consider the shame that they're going to experience. They have to consider the ways in which the reactions from others. So there's a lot of considerations and a lot of a backstory that comes to someone disclosing and being transparent about their trauma. And I think we just people need to start reserving their judgment because we do not have the whole story. No matter how much we know, we don't have the whole story because the whole story is that person's lived experience, which none of us
Understood. Understood. And what do you have to say to individuals dealing with trauma? Well, any type of trauma.
have. I feel that one of the important things that people need to recognize around trauma is that when you've had a traumatic experience, you then are going to develop what's called trauma responses or triggers. And so the best way is therapy. I believe therapy provides a first initial safe space for people to really begin to explore um, and begin to understand parts of their trauma history. Because the reality is, even we look at Queen Afriqua, right? We're saying, I'm not really sure if the whole age part is still a little unclear, but nevertheless, her making sense of her father's alleged, assault or rape for her, right? Therapy creates that space, a safe space where people can really begin to look at what has happened to them in a non judgmental way.
There are a lot of individuals, as we say, going through different types of trauma.
Hmm.
And as you said, therapy is one of the best way to deal with
I
it.
believe. Yeah.
Therapy. I do agree that, therapy is important. Um, One of the craziest thing, I'm gonna say something that is not quite therapeutic, like
Okay.
what you
Tell
would
me.
say. I do, maybe because this is coming from a man.
Mhm.
I'll say this, that no matter what you go through, that you have to toughen up. And here's why I say that. It doesn't matter the worst possible thing. I know people say, why me? Why this had to happen
Mhm.
to me? The options are quite limited in reality. It's either you're gonna move forward or you're not. So at some point you have to toughen up, because not saying, that you shouldn't be sad or whatever the case is, or deal with it through therapy. But I believe that even through after therapy, after facing and
Mhm.
confronting your trauma, at
Mhm.
some point you're gonna have to move forward. And if you know, because from my experience, I'm not an expert like you,
Mhm.
but from what I've researched, going to school and stuff like that, when it comes to people in depression and committing suicide,
Mhm.
it's not when they go in depression, it's when they come out of depression, when they are now faced with why they went into it in the first place. So they go through the whole cycle, and when they come back out, then they're like, oh, I don't want to go back through it again. And they tend to end it there. So I'm saying, even before going through therapy and
Mhm.
everything, knowing if your goal is to move forward, it makes everything easier. If you know the ultimate goal is to move forward.
Correct. But the question becomes, are you moving forward in a healthy fashion or in unhealthy fashion? And that becomes the challenge when individuals, when I'm hearing it, I also want to kind of define more what toughen up means, but the idea of moving forward, right, that is the essential goal of what people want to do is around looking at their trauma. But we people can move forward in a healthy way, meaning it's been addressed, it's been examined, there's some understanding, and you go on to be in relationship with others or go on to function in this world void of flashbacks, void of negative feelings, void of triggers. Where if we move on and it's not addressed, you're moving on, but now the fact that it's unresolved can show up with an intimate partner. It can show up with your children. It can show up at work. So moving on is the differentiation is whether it's healthy or unhealthy, and that's really the key.
And that is true. And when I say toughen up, I'm referring to the fact that knowing, as you said, therapy is going to help you navigate
Uh huh.
and move forward. But if the person that's going through therapy has no, they don't even know, because oftentimes they're just going through stuff, and people's like,
Hmm.
oh, I'm depressed, I'm down, I'm going, go to therapy. They
Hmm.
don't have a sense of direction yet. They're just down and they're looking for answers. And I'm saying that
Oh, so before they get to therapy, you're saying?
they must know the plan to move forward, because they're lost. If you're lost and you don't have a direction, and you're going to go to therapy, and the person's going to say, okay, what's going on, what's ailing you, what you've been through, and then dig up all your past and stuff like that, and now you're confronted with everything. Now
Hmm.
you're crying. No, you know they're hoping wounds and unlock stuff that
Sure.
you ain't even know was a problem. You're
Sure.
decompartmentalizing day and night, and shedding tears for stuff you didn't even know.
Uh huh.
You open. So then it's like, what happens now?
What happens is now that the wound gets
Is
opened
open.
up, that's again, it speaks to where therapy, good therapy, comes in, because now we're going to look at this open wound. See, the goal isn't to in therapy is not to open wounds and then people just go about their business. The point is to open the wounds that creates more space for exploration, more space for understanding. That's the purpose of why therapy, as you said, dig up the past, why all of that happens. That's actually the beauty of what happens in therapy. Wounds that we don't even recognize need attention, get attention. And that results in ultimate healing.
And most importantly, I would say,
Mhm.
as you said, good therapy, which
Mhm.
means you require a good
Clinician.
therapist. You need some, because from experience, I can tell you, not everybody is a good therapist. So
Hmm.
there's not, and not every therapy is going to be good therapy. It's just like you might go to a
Correct.
chiropractor and it's not a good one.
Correct.
You know,
Absolutely.
so what happens is maybe people, maybe it's just as you said, people work better with different people. So a
Hmm.
person might come to you, she might be better with a female therapist, or he
Hmm.
might be better with a male therapist. So what happens is they also have to figure out like what they're looking for, and
Correct.
stuff like,
Right.
because
Right.
to be honest with you, sometimes, I've spoken to therapists before, and I'm speaking to one therapist and she's all religion and stuff like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And not that I'm not godly. I was just pushing back on stuff she's saying because we're butting heads, because she's on the
Uh,
religious side. So,
mhm.
and then I've also seen where they're, feminists, a lot of,
A lot
especially
of
on
what?
TikTok
Okay.
these days, a lot of these
Hmm.
therapists, relationship therapists,
Hmm.
are feminists. And I would say to the ladies, if you're going to a therapist that's a feminist, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. Chances are.
Yeah, a good couples therapist is going to hold space for recognizing that men and women are different. Two different ideologies are going to be in the room, and being able to create space where the couple is still hearing one another, despite the fact that the foundationally men and women they do think differently. So yeah, it's I always say to people when you go look for a therapist, don't feel committed to the first person you find because this space is personal, it's intimate. And if you find that you end up with a therapist that you don't necessarily feel connected with, there's nothing wrong with ending that relationship and finding one that you feel connected with. Because if you take a journey with someone and you feel disconnected, nothing good, nothing necessarily comes of that. You end up not really learning much. You end up not disclosing what needs to be disclosed. So if you need to kind of shop around, then you do so.
Yeah, it's true. And also, some of the therapists are just there for a payday, and some of them actually have vendetta
Mm, mm.
against relationships. There's some of them, you know, it's over,
Oh,
Howard. So I'm gonna let you go just now. But I do believe that there are people, there are a lot of psychopaths. So your psychotherapists, you should understand, a lot of psychopaths are going into jobs to destroy, and one might see a therapist and think that therapist is there to help when that therapist is actually there to destroy your relationship because of whatever past trauma they're
mm,
dealing with in their own way, whatever vindication they're dealing with. And I see these things happen where you
mm,
hear them, like one lady said that it's okay to leave your relationship, it's okay to divorce. You don't even need a reason to divorce. He doesn't even, come on, listen, you don't have to do,
right,
you don't even have to do anything wrong. If you feel like it, you're like, what are you saying?
right, right,
Why are you saying this? Are you telling this to millions of women across
right,
the
right,
world that if they're in their relationship and if they get up and they just not feeling the person tomorrow, when the reality is that love is something you fall in and out of. It fluctuates.
right,
It's not like we get, we're not going to be on the highest level of intimacy every single day.
correct.
So why are you out here saying stuff like that? So when I'm telling you, because I follow a lot
Mm,
of these
mm,
stuff
mm.
where you see the females. I listen to them. I'm just like, you should not be telling your clients this, but
You
they
know what's
do.
interesting? I actually, and I'll say to clients that I work with, I don't necessarily give. I don't tell people what to do. I'm in the business of helping someone process their already existing thought or emotion. So that way, I'm guiding and I'm just helping navigate. At the end of it, people are gonna, first of all, do what they want to do anyway. So I want to guide from wherever someone is currently at. that's my goal when I meet with any individual or couple. Let's work at where you're at, because the reality is that what, even if there's my giving a advice or a suggestion without having a full picture, and no matter how many times someone shows up in therapy, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm not the expert on their life. So I'm just the expert helping them guide whatever journey that they're on. So I actually don't believe in telling people do this, do that, do, because at the end of the day they have to walk that out, and the consequences or outcomes they're gonna have to deal with. And by the way, I don't want anybody saying Tasha told me.
You want to say nobody say, "Oh man, I'm getting a divorce. Tasha told me to get a divorce." You don't want that, huh?
Not
Okay.
I.
What do you have to say about the current decay of morals in our society regarding relationships?
So what's interesting is I believe at one point there was more, there's less judgment nowadays, right? I feel like there's less judgment, potentially a lot of grace around the, the the decisions people make, how they want to make them. It's, and that's the change. There used to be a standard, right? Let's even say, going back to relationships, one man, one woman. That's changing. We have things like polyamorous relationships, non-ethical monogamous relationships. So I think the standard is changing, and the important thing is that before people then are entering relationships, you've really got to be aware of wants and needs of your partner, because the idea, the concept of what used to be the kind of the gold standard is no longer.
Okay, so
Hmm.
being that things have changed so much in our society, and people are pandering to liberal ideas. Sorry about that.
Hmm.
To liberal ideology to say that people have the right to do what they want to do, how they want
Correct.
to do it, and when they want to do it.
Hmm.
So the moral decay comes from people just saying listen, because on the right, people are just like traditional, on more
Hmm.
traditional marriage, man, woman, one man, one woman to a relationship, versus the polyamory relationships, the open relationship,
Hmm.
where as you said, that's non-ethical monogamy. That's what you
Ethical
call it.
monogamy.
So these days, I'm just gonna say, man,
Tell me.
I've been check this. You're also on a great pill, and I'll say this. I check out red pill content, blue pill content.
Hmm.
I'm kind of like in the middle with the gray. But dear God Almighty,
Hmm.
I knew that when I was in college, that on average females had more partners than males at that age group, college age.
Mm.
I realized, obviously, because females tend to obviously have the more opportunity than men. you know Man, we don't choose, we get chosen if
Mm.
we're lucky.
Mm.
So females are the one who choose, because each female, no matter how she looks, she gonna have suitors one way or another.
Hmm.
Us
Hmm.
men, even the quote unquote, you know, top G them, we still, there's levels to the thing, right? But these days, when females are saying that body count does not matter, as a therapist,
Hmm.
what do you have to tell us about body count, and what's going on with these females being in their early 20s with these 50, 60, 100, 150, 200, 300 body counts? What's going on?
Okay. I believe that speaks to the shift and change in moral standards. Um, I'll say this without judgment, whatever someone chooses to do, how they choose, that's on them. But I will say that it is important to recognize the more intimate partners or body counts, right, that one has.
Hmm.
We're creating a space where the idea of intimacy and sex is no longer special. So if there is a choice, or if there's one wants to give it to the wind about the number of persons that they choose to have sex with, they've got to recognize that all of those experiences are decreasing a specialness or even how one looks at intimacy and sex. And as a matter of fact, there's a place where later down the road it can actually interrupt the ways in which you connect with someone else.
So it well, statistics does say that the more partners you have, eventually your bonding, it
Your
makes
bonding is it's going
yeah
to be
peer
disrupted.
yeah peer bonding
Hmm.
becomes a problem. But
Hmm.
it's the comfortability of the females these days to literally come out and say, I've had sex with 100, 200 people, and I'm thinking to myself, this is insane. I In my days, if I'm dating a female and she's like, I'm like, and I'm one of those people. I always ask. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm ancient day.
Some
I
men
was
don't want to
always
know,
asking.
but okay.
I want to know, and even and not just for just okay. I'm looking to have a long term relationship. I
Hmm.
want to know even if it's a one night stand, even if
But
it's
why
a
do you
fling.
want to know?
I want to know
I know why. Why do you want to know?
because first and foremost, when I was younger, you know what I'm saying when I was younger, I was not really into what you say condoms,
Okay.
and I was one who I've never caught an STD, and I intended never to have caught any.
Hmm.
So I didn't just want like I'm dealing with a female. I would like to know her history. Oh, she speak on it. Like I could tell if she's lying, if based on the
Hmm.
stuff she says. I ask questions. I don't have to literally just say, "Oh, many," So ask about the relationships and stuff like that, and she tells me about her past boyfriends, right?
Hmm.
Like so, if she ever had flings, stuff like that, you find out about her because it's gonna tell me the type of person that she is, and if I should even be engaging with her in the first place. Because if
Okay.
she's been around the block
Hmm.
with everybody, that's
Hmm.
not for me.
Got it.
You know.
Okay. So it helps
So
inform you.
yeah, so
You're
I,
looking.
I
Okay.
definitely wanted to know. So I'm saying, so from I was young, I was asking these questions. Now, back then, a female tell me five, and I'll be like, five, and you're like 25, and you got five. All right, okay. But if she was like 50, 55,
Hmm.
I'm gonna be edit out. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a lot of demons, and as you
Hmm.
know, sex, is spiritual transference. And I'm saying you got a lot of ghosts. A lot. I can't work with you. You're demon. So
Hmm. Okay.
stuff like
Preference.
that.
Got it.
Yes, I always wanted to know. And these days, females are just out here saying some stuff. And trust me, I see these females on these podcasts, and they be saying the most when I say a girl say 500 and she don't bat an eye, she's like one girl literally just recently, yesterday, where the girl said she had sex with like 50 people over the last 9 days.
Is there any idea about what that was about?
Oh no, she's just in Miami.
Okay.
Before she came on the podcast, I just had sex with two people before I just had a threesome before I came here. I'm like, okay, lunatic. But hey, listen, I'm being judgmental. I know I'm being judgmental, but
Okay.
I guess I'm on that right. I'm on that right side right now. This political correctness is not gonna work because
Mm.
I'm saying I understand. Like females like to say, for us, man, oh, why is it okay for a man to have a high body count? We're not saying it's okay. I'm just saying God made us different. That's all. I think you should take it
Oh,
up
and
with
you're
God.
saying that God made us different than creates more acceptability around a man's high count.
Not just not an acceptance. It's
Uh-huh.
the genetical differences between us when it comes to testosterone, our driving hormone.
Mhm.
We have an hormone that dominates how we think sexually.
Does it
While
dominate how you act?
yes, it has a strong
Okay.
control over us. We are conditioned, we are trained to control and restrain ourselves. Like for us, a woman may look at a man infidelity and she's like, oh my God, he's a piece of crap.
Mm.
When that man battles with it every single day. It for us, it's every day. when we go outside, if we are in public, if we are on the internet, it's always in front of us. Wherever there are females, it's in front of us, and we battle with that. So
Hmm.
we are trained from we're young to, and it's a duality to it, because we're also trained from we're young to hunt.
Correct.
So we have to practice how to hunt,
Mm-hmm.
and then at the same time practice restraint when we actually get what we are looking for. So it's
Right.
like
Well,
you're
let me
expect
ask you this. How much of that struggle is being conveyed to your partner?
trying to tell a woman. I've tried, like, over the last 2 years, understanding it more. I've tried to share it with my
Mm.
partner, because
Mm-hmm.
I want, like, women just think that we're dogs and we're this and we're that, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying no, we're not. Because what's happening here is, she might look at a man maybe once, I don't know, maybe once in a million, and might have a sexual thought.
Mm.
Man, it's an everyday thing for us. So then it's like, you can't compare us, because that literally makes no sense. You're not faced with the challenges we're faced with. So it's like, oh, you might see a sexy man and you don't go to
Mm-hmm.
that place.
Mm-hmm.
We're always there. We live there.
Mm-hmm.
And you might say, not all men, by the way. Not all men, because some
I
men
think
are,
there's degrees to everything.
yeah, so,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm saying, if I'm one of the men who has strong control, very
Mm-hmm.
strong control. And I can tell you, as a person that have I sex drive, I can tell you that it is not easy. So when I see
Mm-hmm.
other men succumb to their perversions, I'm like, hey, bro, I know what it is. I know what the constraint is. And that's why Dr. Umar will say, brother, we gotta stay focused. We gotta stay focused. We gotta stay focused out here. And that's what it is for us. We gotta stay
Right.
focused. So you understand what I mean by why it's so hard for us. But for you, I'm not saying it's not hard for a female,
Mm-hmm.
because she's taught to be selective. So
Mm-hmm.
from a young age, females understand, the less partner you have, you're more valued.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, for females, we reward females that have less body count with more respect, because women have the pick of the litter when it comes to man. See, if a woman walk outside right now and she's like, I want to have sex, almost any woman can walk outside and find 10 men right now to have sex.
Mm-hmm.
You pick the most high quality man, you send him outside and ask him to give him the entire day. If he ain't spending money, he ain't getting nothing out here. You
Okay.
see, so we reward the females
Mm-hmm.
who can restrain themselves, and men are respected for the fact that it's so hard to get a woman in the first place. A man who gets lots of women is respected for that, because it's something hard to do. So what I'm saying is, the variance between what's hard for a woman and what's
Mm-hmm.
hard for a man is on the opposite end of the spectrum. So that's why they're like, oh, but you want to have about, no, we just reward men because we know it is hard to get women.
Mm-hmm.
For you, it's easy to get a man, very easy. So for a woman to, I don't know, it's hard. And that's where man chooses the
Mm-hmm.
partner for marriage, because we control that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
See, is it woman control sex, we control marriage?
It's an angle. I hear you. It's an
Yeah,
angle.
come on, we the one who do the proposing. Which, come on,
Correct.
who's
Correct.
doing the proposing? Well, or more than nine out of
Yeah,
10 times,
nine
it's a
out of ten.
man that's
Right.
gonna
Yeah.
propose. So
Hmm.
we control who we're gonna propose to. So if
Correct.
we never propose to you, you can't say yes.
You're right.
So so we do control that aspect. Yeah, you gotta say yes or no. Just
Hmm.
like you control sex, I have to ask, but still, it takes both of us to engage.
Right.
So I'm just saying that, you know, as a man, I'm open. I'm telling you my side of the story because I'm talking to a therapist. So don't be so hard on us, okay? We're trying. It's a fight.
Right.
It's a
But what
struggle.
you said is really important. And that's the fact that oftentimes when there is breakdown in relationships, men are actually not, and I don't know how much of what you just said here you said to a partner, but men are actually not being open and vulnerable with what their struggle is. And I think the more that men are open and vulnerable about the struggle, there can be places, not always, for more understanding from the woman. But if it just seems like you just out here doing everything for no, that becomes a problem because now the behavior just seems duplicitous and this is what you want to do. But understanding coupled with an event, I believe can create a better harmony between two people. I didn't say it solves everything, but I think it creates, a better harmony.
I do respect that you said that because I I ain't gonna lie to you. A lot of men, their dog ways. When you do the research and you check, it's gonna tie back to a female that did them dirty.
Tell me about that. What do
Unfortunate.
you mean?
So man,
Hmm.
I believe that man love more sincerely than woman. And what happens, they say a woman's scorned, but they don't
Oh,
understand that men are scorned easily. So, I liked a girl and she didn't like me like that, or me and her were together and she dumped me, or whatever the case is. And man lose faith in woman quick.
mm,
So what
hmm,
happens is
hmm,
they man tend to write all women, like all women, and all these women are the same,
yeah,
man. So they tend to just go with the wind once they have been hurt, because obviously we don't deal with trauma well.
hmm,
So in general, man, we don't deal with it. So once we have been hurt once by a woman, it is
mm,
hard for us to
yeah,
keep
yeah,
opening up to more. So that
right,
that
right.
that causes that thing where we literally just like, oh, and I hear these, I have a lot of male listeners, I have a lot of females, but lots of males, and they will tell you, oh, women are the worst. Woman did this, woman did
Mm,
that. And from she did this, I've been this way.
right.
And then you
Well,
start to understand that.
negative experience are going to alter any experience from there on forth. So whether it's and I understand men, I think there's a space where men's wounds with around issues of infidelity with the women, they run a little deeper, but for various different reasons. But nevertheless, once there's a negative experience for man or woman, it is going to alter how you then go on to be in relationship or look at the experiences with anybody else. It's gonna change it.
And before we go, I'll say, I'm just messing with a therapist at this point. Um, Woman
Yeah.
versus man
Hmm.
when it comes to love. I
Mm.
think that men are capable of unconditional love and women are not.
Now. What would be the base? Tell me a little bit more before I can even respond to that. Where's the evidence? Where's that
Most
ideology based?
marriages, right? In most
Hmm.
marriages, say 80 to 90% of marriages, the females are the ones who initiate divorce, right? Your therapist, you should know. Women are the one who typically initiate divorce. Typically, women are the ones who leave relationships, not men.
But is that because women can be a little bit more action oriented? So if there's a problem, they're going to, whether it's a good decision or bad decision, not here to judge that, but they're going to be quicker to create an action that they feel might solve the issue.
And there you go. You have the answer. Man, we are unconditional. Females are not.
I don't know if
It,
it has to do with any
the
matter of
idea,
unconditional
the
love or
word
not.
in
Yeah.
unconditional is that we are willing to take more. We are willing to like, for example, we when we get in a relationship,
Hmm.
females, before we live together, females, the relationship is a certain way. We take her out,
Hmm.
flowers, whatever, whatever. When we start to live with a female, she becomes less available as time go on, especially when kids get involved, none available. You know that go already.
Hmm.
The love goes from you to the children. You just gotta,
Well, it
we
has to
gotta
be
work with that.
divided, or maybe it just has to be divided. Not it doesn't go away.
No,
Now it
no,
just
it's
has to
not
be
divided.
divided.
It's just not the same. You come on, we've been down this road. It is not even like it's a fraction. It's just like, yeah. Yeah, we just as a man, we understand. So
Hmm.
I'm speaking from a man perspective. I
Hmm.
get it.
Hmm.
I understand. No, you got to divide your love, and the children they need it, and Us, man, we're tough. We're big boys. We can handle it, right? But what I'm saying is when we're in the relationship with a female, and other than cheating,
Mm-hmm.
other than a female cheating, man, we're willing to take on everything, the world if necessary. We will go to war, we will
Mm,
fight, we will
mm,
die.
mm.
A female will not be doing any of that for you. If it becomes too hard, she's gone. If whenever time financial issues, in as a therapist, you will notice financial issues are the main reasons relationships start to fall apart. Because as soon as hardships start to hit, they start to argue more, complaining more,
Mm.
and there it started to deteriorate because, and I've seen it in my relationships. Whenever time we're going through financial difficulty, it becomes this toxic
Mm.
relationship, which is not the same when money is flowing properly. So I understand that, and I've seen it where women, when you have everything going, and
Mm.
women are willing to take more from men who provide more versus men who don't. The moment a woman is the provider, she ain't taking nothing. You best know what time it is.
But is that, I believe, and earlier you mentioned that there's a place where women are, the reality is women are more emotional and are will lean more into their emotions. Men do as well. How it gets displayed another way. That's another conversation. But the reality is what you described, a man will take and take, is men are they're going to take and take. I think some things get compartmentalized, and women are the things that they're taking, it is starting to impact their emotions, their feelings. And so maybe that, I'm just speculating here, I believe that could be more of why what you're saying, kind of bowing out of this thing quicker, can happen, because the emotional toll of something can be quite devastating and cause someone to react quicker than someone who's able to kind of compartmentalize and keep things in different boxes.
I do believe it's tied back to our root in what we're speaking about when boys are taught to be tough,
Mm-hmm.
girls are taught to be delicate.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is we nurture we the flower, the female is the flower,
Mm-hmm.
she's delicate, the boys are the rock.
Mm.
So being in the relationship, we are the rock. We take the
Okay.
punches,
Right.
we take the hit.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Mm-hmm.
is hard for us to give up, especially when we're invested in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for us to give up because we are the rock. But for the female, she's the flower. And the moment she starts to feel deflowered, the flower starts to wither, she's more likely to leave you.
That may be well and true, but what I'm saying is I don't believe it's a testament to her love, the love from one over the other. I don't believe it's a testament of I don't love you as much, or I'm not as vested because I might bow out quicker than you do.
So let me ask you a question to that. If 90% of marriages, women file divorce,
Mm-hmm.
and the man is willing to stay,
Mm-hmm.
then who's more unconditional?
See, with this, before we get to that, I heard your question, but what are the precipitating factors? What are the things present that before this woman is filing for divorce? A lot of women that, when I've, with couples, and there's even talks of divorce, the couple who ends up not, the woman who ends up not filing, or the couple who ends up not going forward with it, is because when women are staying in a place where they're feeling unheard, unrecognized, it, sometimes men are doing right, and that's one thing which you described, but doing does not equate to how does a woman feel poured into. And if she doesn't feel poured into, that can become the catalyst. So before we talk about why someone is pulling the trigger for divorce, what are those precipitating factors? So again, I don't necessarily believe it has to do with someone's buy-in to the relationship. I think it's a host of consideration.
Right. And I do agree with what you're
Mhm.
saying, but that's why we use the word unconditional, because that refers to a variety of different reasons and who's willing to stand the test of time versus who's not. So that's why I say men are more
Mhm.
unconditional, because regardless of the reason for the
Mhm.
divorce, men are more likely to try and tough it out, while females are not.
I think we're going to agree to disagree.
Got it. Hey, it is what it is. The thing about it is, as I said, apart from cheating for us men,
Mhm.
because we do, no matter what it is, man, instinctively we know that when a woman cheat on you, bruh, it's just dirt. You know already, she does not want you, she does not care. If she bonds with another man, there's just no hope for you.
I
But
would
a
disagree
man
with
is
that.
different. He might cheat and he doesn't even care. It might just be a mechanical thing. But for women, it's a lot different. Well, for the majority of women, because there's some women who are like man.
Right, and there's also some, a woman's infidelity doesn't mean a testament to that she's done with her partner. It can be a testament to all the things I mentioned earlier. Do I feel emotionally supported? Have they experienced, is there reoccurring behaviors from that partner that is just becoming too much? I believe some of the reasoning doesn't is not built into the fact that it's over for the other person, but oftentimes women's affairs are starting with some type of emotional neglect from their partner,
And and
and
and
physical
and
sometimes.
trauma,
Mhm.
past trauma.
Correct.
I say though, from experience, I was young, I was a dog, I was, and I've, as I said, a lot of, a lot of
Ownership is
women,
good.
a lot of women, what you do learn is that, that's how I know about a lot of women, what they have been through, because I've had to, listen to, I do listen,
Hmm.
and I've heard a lot. And let me tell you, when I say it's a lot, it's a lot.
Hmm.
Females, with the past baggage and stuff like that. When I remember one sexual experience where it was like, um it was confusing. It was very confusing because,
Confusing for you?
yeah, because I understand what's happening. I know what's happening, but it was just like, all right, what do I do?
You mean her
And
reaction in the situation, like
yeah,
when everything was happening?
yeah, because what happened was she had a past, experience,
Hmm.
and she's a victim of past trauma or whatever. And it's like she wants to do this. And in the moment, I could tell she had a flashback. And
Yeah.
I just didn't want to deal with it.
Hmm.
And now she's crying because she's saying that, you know, she's sorry and blah blah blah, and she wanna try again. And I'm just like, yo,
Mm.
man, like, you know, what am I doing here?
Right.
What is the
Right.
situation? And when you find, I'm trust me, I've dealt with a lot of weird situation. I've
Hmm.
just joked in a meeting. I remember dating a girl, and she was like, from the get go, straight up. I said, we talk about sex, and like, oh, we talk about sex, and she's like, she can't do this and that. And one bag of tough, Jamaican woman, talking up the things them. And when the day come for
Mm.
action, for put it into the practical,
Mm.
we was in the apartment, and she was like, I will tell you, you gonna get anything. And I mean, I joke with her. I open the jar and take out a condom and put it on the dresser, and I struck a memory. I didn't
Hmm.
even know she had
Hmm.
any trauma. I
Hmm.
didn't know anything, and she ran out the
Right.
goddamn
Right.
place crying. I'm like, what's happening? What's going on here? You I'm just like, I'm done. I'm done. That's it. I'm done. I'm sorry. That relationship was done. And no
So
disrespect
that's
to
why
her.
unresolved trauma is so powerful, because it does. And it's interesting we're talking specifically about this because my couple YouTube clips, I'm talking about the ways in which trauma actually shows up in intimate partner relationships. And this is one of the ways.
It's scary, man. And it's hard. What do you go forward, especially for a person like me where sex is not typically mechanical. So it's like,
Hmm.
I don't want to go forward. Like, the intimacy is now ruined because your experience now it's like I'm traumatized by what you're traumatized. Because no, I have to think every time we're engaging in,
Hmm.
I'm gonna remember that you were a victim of this.
So, how
And
does
you
that change the experience by your knowledge? of
It,
their having been a victim of trauma.
but because now I have to process this. Now I have to be careful. Oh, I touch her. They said that, or oh, she's reacting
Mhm.
because any form of discomfort could be she's having an episode, so to speak, or possible maybe her episode could be a more lasting episode, so to
Mhm.
speak. What if she has a mental break or something?
Right. So that's why, if for the individual who's going to choose to kind of weather that storm or work, stay in that relationship, I definitely would suggest couples counseling, because there has to be a safe space where you can get understanding of what the other person's experiences have been and how it's showing up in the relationship. The two of you probably, in an instance like that, I wouldn't say two people should just look to try to navigate that on their own, because there's so many dynamics that occur for an individual who has been a victim of trauma, and the flashbacks is just one of them. There's also states where people, what is known as dissociation, that occurs for individuals. So there's
Oh,
so much can happen.
I've
So
seen it.
yeah. Hmm.
I've seen dissociative disorder up front. I've seen people split
Hmm.
personality right in front of me. I've literally seen a person go from one personality to another
Hmm.
and record it, and the person can't believe like the split and the change and the memory loss.
Correct. Right.
So we've seen some stuff. We have a bad experience. Been around the block a couple times. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Tasha here. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna say, close off the show. I know we said we was gonna do an hour live, so almost 2 hours, but that's that. So Tasha, talk to the people.
So you guys can find me. I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Facebook at Unique Journey Counseling. And again, I have my practice, my in person, because I do virtual as well, is located in downtown Brooklyn. Um, and I also have a website, www.tashaturl.com, where you can also find out some more information about me.
And thank you for stopping by with us,
Yes,
Tasha. Hopefully we'll have you again
sure.
in the near future. Bye bye.
Okay. Take care.
Have a good one.
Alrighty.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know the shop. I'm just kidding, y'all. I want to say thank you to Tasha for coming through and holding a little reason with us. I hope y'all found it interesting. Hope y'all enjoy. Our YouTube link is in the description, so you can head over to our channel. Where you can find all our social media information. It's also on the thumbnail. So big up on yourself. You don't know. In about 15 minutes or so, I'll be live. Vendetta, Citadel, you know the thing. We have a mad topic for deal with the night here. So people trouble daddy. I hope y'all are ready for this. So respect. I want to say thank you, Syndicate, Electro, Laruna, Chocolate Ma, Miss Black and Knees, Paradox, Nick Vietnam, Skater, Dancehall News Stats, Tav, what I'm saying, Red Rum and Wine for coming through. Who else? DL, everybody that passed through, Era Code, pick up on yourself, Barbara Wayne, Electro. Um, yeah, let's big up on yourself, people, and yeah, follow Tasha. And you can always message her if you all have any questions and stuff and stuff and stuff. You be sleeping in 15 minutes. Miss Black and East, stop the lies. Big up on yourself, love and respect. I'm gonna catch y'all in a few. Love and respect. I'm out.